magically love the way my body looked. I thought when I get to this weight, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be comfortable and confident. And it just didn't happen. When I got on the scale and I had gotten down, I was just like,
When did you know it was time to shift from, weight loss to just maintaining your weight?
hmm. I started introducing more. It took me, let's see, well over a year after being in maintenance to finally get to a place where I wasn't trying to reach something. Like I kept feeling like I had to it's like you have to have these goals or something that you're coming in and reporting on, or it's like the people struggling, and those kind of things seem to be what people gravitate towards. And I wasn't really necessarily doing a whole lot of struggling. Like I had some here and there, but I don't know, just feeling like I wasn't enough. And then because I had gotten so small, I felt like I had to do even more. I feel like I was being authentic, but I was also operating like I wanted to be relevant. And it seems like in this community, relevance is shown by.
So, Taisha, did you ever say to yourself when you got down to your lowest weight that I went too far, or this is not where I want to be, or what were you thinking, and what made you be okay with putting on some of it back? Because I could tell some people in maintenance are going through that.
It was actually watching a video back, and I was like, oh, I look really.
Was there a turning point? Let's even talk about the mindset videos, because I know people who are watching you probably want to know that. What stopped you from doing that? Like, what really was the turning point for you?
Honestly, it was.
Hello, and welcome. Well, today I have with me Taisha. How are you, Taisha?
I'm good. And
You
you?
look great. I am good. Well, Taisha, I'm excited. We talk behind the scenes, and so this is so fun that we get to sit down for an interview. And I feel like it's almost the people that you talk to, it's almost harder to get together for an interview for some reason. I don't know what that's about, but we're here today. And as I told you before, I think you're one of the people with a great story to tell, because you were one of those people that, had weight to lose, but you might not have been in that like obese category, right? Where you were up there, but you still had a lot of issues going on with your health. And so I feel like more than a weight loss journey, you were on a health journey. Now, let me start off by asking you, did you start off being on a health journey, or did you start off being on a weight loss journey and it morphed into that?
This time, I started Zepbound on a health journey / weight loss journey, but the emphasis was on health.
Oh, good. So you started at the beginning with that focus in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so refresh us, about your journey, because we know you're on YouTube sharing your story, which I love. But tell us, how did you start off taking Zepbound, and who introduced you to it? What led up to that?
Okay. So let me give you a quick recap. I started my Zepbound journey in 2024, but in 2023, for a period of some months, I was on Wegovy. And when I was on that journey, that was not about health. That was just about me wanting to lose weight. I did not make any lifestyle changes or anything. So I leaned into the medication, wasn't eating like I was supposed to. I definitely wasn't moving my body. When I was able to eat, I wasn't making healthier choices. So when I came off of that medication, in a period of a month and a half, I gained 30 pounds. And so I wasn't able to continue being on Wegovy because my insurance didn't cover it. And I didn't want to pay $1,600 out of pocket, and I couldn't get it from the VA. So I kind of got a little depressed, and then I just started gaining more weight and more weight. And then I got up to 183, and I found out about Zepbound, and I'm trying to remember exactly where I heard about it. And I think it was before it was like officially released. So I had gone to a place here as Parkview Weight Management, which is Parkview is a hospital system here in Fort Wayne. So they've got lots of different divisions. And so the provider there did not want to put me on Zepbound. She was fine with prescribing Vyvanse, but didn't want to prescribe Zepbound, which I thought was stupid. You'll give me an amphetamine, but I can't be on Zepbound. So I got on Reddit. I had never really been on Reddit like that. And I found the Zepbound subreddit and I was learning from people there. And I was like, okay, I found out about telehealth. So I decided to go with PlushCare, met with a provider, sent over my labs. I had other diagnosis. So I had, excuse me, obstructive sleep apnea. So that was what helped me be able to get on. And I was approved, and then TRICARE approved it, and I started. It took a couple of weeks with the approval, and then to actually get the medication. But when it came in, I told myself, this time has to be different. My mom had even mentioned, a couple of months before that, like, you got to make a decision. You can't keep gaining and losing all this weight. It's not good for your heart. And so I just was like, I got to do this the right way because I'm tired of losing the weight and then gaining it back. And it would always end with me gaining even more. Then I started having more medical issues. So I was serious. I was in a whole different mindset this time. So I kind of went into it with a different mindset. Now, I was excited in the beginning when the scale was moving pretty quickly. But once I learned that it was majority muscle, it just kind of reframed things to me. And I was no longer, it just took that for me not to be a slave to the scale. Because when I started, I was getting on the scale every day because I was excited to see it move.
Yeah.
And yeah, then I was just like, okay, I just got to figure out, I got to make sure I'm getting enough. So that's when I started tracking because I wasn't tracking initially. I was weighing things, but I wasn't counting calories. Um, so I couldn't tell you like, this is exactly what I was doing in the beginning because I didn't know. But I knew when I lost all that muscle, that's not going to work for me.
So when you
Because my
started,
goal, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, let me catch this before I lose my train of thought. I was going to say, when you started tracking the calories, was there a big difference in what you were eating when you weren't tracking versus what you thought? Were you like, wow, this is a lot less than thought I was eating, or was this a lot more?
I needed to eat a little bit more
Okay.
because I didn't want to continue to lose at that rate. You know what I mean? Now, if it had just been fat loss, that would be one thing, but it
Now, how
wasn't.
much
And
were you eating? Do you remember?
oh, so it had to be less than 1,400 calories.
Okay.
That's kind of when I started tracking initially, that's kind of where I was in that 1,400 to 1,600 range because I was strength training regularly. Like I was moving my body and I was doing some pretty, at that time for me, it was intense programs. And I was doing everything from home. So I needed more because I was moving a lot. Now, I think it would have been different if I wasn't strength training at that time. If I had just been focused on diet, it may have been different. But 2 weeks in, I was strength training. So that's
Well, Well, I remember, my doctor told me this before too, but the DEXA scan guy said to me, you can eat more because you're exercising. And it makes you think like, I don't want to though. I'm trying to be in a calorie deficit. And he said, but your body needs it and needs the fuel. And you don't
yeah.
think about that because I think we are just so trained in our brain to think like eat less, more weight. And it doesn't necessarily work that way, especially when you're adding in the strength training. I think that in the regular exercise takes it up a different level. So before we talk about that, let me go back to something you said, because I think this is interesting and key for people watching who want to be on the medication and maybe their insurance doesn't cover it. So when you were on Wegovy and then your insurance stopped covering it, what was the difference did you have the same insurance when you got approved for Zepbound?
So TRICARE never approved me for it. So when the provider had sent it in, it was denied. They wanted me to try all these other things first. And what happened is they sent it over to the VA, and I had a provider at that time that was filling it. And then it started to get like where I wasn't able to get it filled on time. And so when a doctor on the outside, if the VA hasn't sent you out and you have an outside doctor send something over, a doctor at the VA has to approve it.
I
So she
see.
started getting a little funny acting with that. And I don't know. I can't say it's a pride thing. Like, I'm just not begging anybody for anything. And I did not want to jump through those hoops every month. And so when I had it sent over to Walgreens and found out it was 16 something, I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to be on this. and that and
So
that
why
was
was the
it.
Zepbound then approved? Was it because of the sleep apnea?
I went through Plush Care, and they put everything together. There was like nothing new. Like, my comorbidities were the
Hmm.
same, but it was approved. So I think it's the way that they sent it over. And something that is important for people to realize, all the T's aren't always crossed and the I's are not always dotted. So
Yes.
when everything was redone again, right, this last time when I had gotten, I thought I lost coverage, the person didn't send over the information correctly. They didn't put that I had been on it for 6 months. That's the first thing you have to answer, right? When you're going in, at least with TRICARE. If you've already been on, then they're continuing care. If you're someone new coming in, I don't know the hoops a person has to jump through, because I don't think it's their top choice currently. So because I had been on it, I was able to continue, but the person that submitted it put no. So people make mistakes, and that's why it's so important to follow up, make phone calls. I wouldn't have known had I not called Tri or Express Scripts. So
So that
that's
first
why.
no or the first rejection, try again. And maybe your angle is try a different doctor, try a different pharmacy, call the pharmacy. Sometimes it helps to talk to the pharmacist, I've discovered. And then a lot of insurances, and you can check with your insurance, they have a pharmacist you can actually talk to that's kind of specialized in these cases. But one of the things I'm noticing that some of the doctors are just learning about these GLP-1s, they don't really know how to work the system. They don't know the ins and outs of, if you get a no, how to respond to that. They don't know how the appeals process is going. Some of them have been doing it for a while and can know that. So it does help to look around and try different doctors to see if you could get a doctor that actually wants to advocate for you, because some of them just don't. I don't think it's because they don't want to. They just don't know how to. They haven't done it. And, they just say, oh, well, you don't meet A, B, and C. And they don't realize that maybe you could work around with the D, or, another way they can go. They just, they look at that straight route. And if you don't meet that, it's a wrap. So I think that's great
And
to
and
encourage people to do that.
and some of them have teams, like, so with Parkview, they have a whole department that's what they handle, prior authorizations. So if you have somebody who is untrained or just kind of like flying by the seat of their pants, like they don't really care, they're just there to collect a check. We've noticed a lot of that with certain places. You're at their mercy. Where Plush Care, and I think some of these telehealth companies, it benefits them to make sure these things go through, because that's keeping a customer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So my doctor's office, what ended up happening this last time is her nurse actually submitted it for me
Oh, wow. Okay. Very
because they
good.
didn't fill it out right. And I was just like, but that's their whole job. I mean, it's right there in my doc. It's not even like they had to go far. It's it's in my
Right.
file. So
Wow. Well, let
just
me
keep
ask
trying.
you. Great. I think so too. So let me ask you, because you're in maintenance now, which is great, but I want you to think back to when you started. When did you realize, like, this is actually working for me? Like, what was it when you got to your first 10 pounds? Was it your first 5 pounds? Was it your first 30 pounds? Like, when did you realize that this is working?
Honestly, my first day, because I wish, I'm going to see if I can come up with an analogy. Ever since I was little, right? And I've said many times I've spent the majority of my life small. Food has always that has been something that was always on my mind, right? When I was in school, I got through the day looking forward to lunch and then, oh, when I get home, I'm going to eat. Like, it's crazy. It was always on, right? That's how I got through basic training. I got through it by meals. Anything in life, work, it was waiting for that next meal. And when it was like, let's say you have this, you have these headphones on and there's just constant noise. Within a couple of hours, it was like it was off. And then I woke up the next day and food wasn't on my mind. And the next day and the next day. And then fairly quickly, the weight started coming down because I was eating so much before. So I knew in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, this is this is gonna work. And for me, with the Wegovy, I wasn't paying attention, right? It was just kind of like, oh, I'm not hungry. I wasn't really locked in like I was this time. It's something, it's like a switch flipped. And so then, of course, I was a daily weigher. So seeing that, plus not feeling like I needed to eat all the time, I was just mind blown. Because with the Wegovy, and I think it's because I was doing it in an unhealthy way, I was like a lot of people I hear that talk about this medication, that would last for me for a few days and then it would like pick back up. So I still wasn't eating the quantities that I was eating outside of it, but I was noticing myself getting like thinking about food a lot more when I would get to like day 3, 4, 5. So that was something different this time. I didn't experience that.
Okay, all right. Well, so
Mm.
you have lost 53 pounds. That's awesome. And I think you've lost more, but now you're at the 53-pound mark. So, and I want to
Yeah.
talk about that too, the losing, more at some point. But let's focus in on this 50. So when you got to 50 pounds, take yourself back when you got to that mark. What were you thinking? What surprised you most about your body and your mindset around that time when you got, because that's a huge milestone.
I thought that I would just magically love the way my body looked. I thought when I get to this weight, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be comfortable and confident. And it just didn't happen. When I got on the scale and I had gotten down, I was just like, okay. But when I looked in the mirror, I still wasn't happy with what I was seeing.
What parts of what weren't you happy with?
So, I was never a busty girl, but when I put on some weight, I had a little bit that was gone. So it was just like basically, you know, deflated. Um, the amount of excess skin in my stomach area, like just kind of, especially around my navel, that is a sensitive area for me. Like it just looks stretched out. I just didn't magically love my body. I felt like, I don't know, that I looked flabby. So of course I was trying to do more and more with the strength training to like combat that. I don't think I had even at that point, an accurate um, view of myself because I look back now and I was all right. I kept going and I think I got a little too small for my liking. So I'm actually happy with where I am right now. But I didn't have that magical, I could get into smaller clothes. I was not in love with myself when I looked in the mirror. So it took me a while to get to where now I'm fully comfortable in my skin.
So that surprises me a little bit only because you would send pictures of yourself at the beach and you would have your
Oh
belly
yeah.
out or in
Yeah,
videos. And you gave yourself the injection on camera showing your belly.
I
So, but
did.
even at that point, you still weren't happy with yourself. You just did it.
I just did it. But you know what? I was also, when I got up to 216 pounds, I was also, when I went to the gym, the same person wearing a sports bra and some pants or some shorts, right? Like, just because I wasn't like in love with myself, I wasn't necessarily like trying to hide out. And I just felt like I'm showing people real life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've got, some excess skin. It's not this, and I was working, I did build some abs, right? But this is, I just wanted to show people the truth. And I was
Yeah.
comfortable doing that. Not proud of it, but just like, hey, this is what I look like.
I love that. I love that. So I don't know if I'll ever get there showing my rolls. I don't know. But you didn't have, well, I don't know. When you were 216, I don't know if you had rolls then or not where they could see because you're a little, what's your height, Taisha?
5'7".
5'7". Okay, so yeah, you're tall. You're taller, what I would consider a little bit taller. So yeah, so that helps because I think people out there think that even showing profile pics, people aren't comfortable doing that because I think for some people it's just the privacy of it all. I get that, but for some people, I think they don't really want to be seen because they're not comfortable with even how they look. And so I think when somebody is like you and, a lot of us that are getting on here, getting out of our comfort zone and showing things, I think it's kind of motivating for other people to do it too. So I love how that, even though you said, I had that skin on my belly, you still came out there and you're showing that. And that, because that's you, right? And I don't know I don't think you can strength train that away. You just have to, I don't know, it's surgery or live with it.
And it's gotten a little bit better, right? It doesn't look exactly the same as when I started, but it's something that just takes time. And I got to my goal weight in July of 2024. So we're in 2026 now, and it's taken well over a year for me to just accept my body. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it took a while, and I feel like I got there the latter part of 2025. Even though I was sharing things, even though I was showing the shots, like it wasn't something like I was proud of like the progression of my arms and things like that. But when it came to my stomach area, that is something that um I don't know. I just had to accept like, well, what it looked like before. I've carried 5 kids and I know we're all different, but my stomach got really big. And when I was at my heaviest, it looked like I was pregnant. So you think my skin was stretched and went down and stretched and went
sure.
down
Yeah,
so many times, it would be unrealistic for me to think now I'm pushing 50 that everything is just going to be super tight like it was. It's just unrealistic. So I had to come to grips with
absolutely.
that.
All right, I love that. I love that you did that. Now, let's talk about maintenance because, when did you know? And I think this is key for a lot of people, and a lot of people are figuring it out. When did you know it was time to shift from, weight loss to just maintaining your weight?
Hmm. I started introducing more calories. So I went from around that 1400 to 1600. Then I kind of went up to 1700 and then 1800, right? And with the movement I was doing, I was just trying to keep the scale from moving down. So I had gotten down as low as 125 and I was like, no, this is not it for me. So adding more, and then I actually decreased some of my movement, and then it started to go back up. Then I kind of went up. I went back up to 135, and I was like, okay, girl, let's not get overboard. But I think it's because I kept my calories up and my movement had dropped dramatically. So it's just finding that balance. It's finding that balance. And I think I've found that. So I couldn't tell you how many calories I'm eating right now because I don't track that. But if I had to guess, I would say it's anywhere between 16 and 1800 calories because I'm not doing that intensive, strength training or anything like that. So I don't want to I won't ever be down to like 1200 or 1000. I don't feel like for me that's enough. But if I were to pick up strength training again like and get back into it, then I would know that I need to bump up a little bit, which would just probably be adding another meal, making sure that I get a good amount of protein.
So was your how so did you have a goal weight in mind, or you just went off of your body, or you went off your health markers? Like, what determined when you said, okay, I'm in maintenance, I'm gonna up my calories?
When I
What
got when I
determined
got
that?
down when I got down to, um, I considered myself in maintenance when I got down to, I feel like it was 132. 132, I was like, okay, okay, this is good. But I still kept doing everything the same. So it was just, increasing my calories.
Okay, so Taisha, has your mindset changed when you moved into the phase of maintenance, or did you still keep the same mindset you had all along?
The I would say it's the same mindset, but knowing that, so instead of being so rigid, it took me, let's see, well over a year after being in maintenance to finally get to a place where I wasn't trying to reach something. Like I kept feeling like I had to do more. I started to get to like the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Because prior to these meds, I was, lazy and only moved with a particular goal in mind. And this was, I felt like maybe I was getting a little unhealthy with the mindset about it. Like I had to keep, again, doing more. Oh, I have to build more muscle. And it got to where I was, yeah, maybe putting a little bit too much pressure on myself. And so my mindset is even different than when I first started on maintenance. Now I'm just getting comfortable and this is my new normal. So
So
definitely several changes.
if you people have been watching your channel, we've noticed the change, a change over time. And so what brought on that change? Like what made you realize that I'm putting too much pressure on myself and I don't want the pressure? Like what were you looking at other people thinking you had to do that, or were you just it was a pressure you put on yourself?
I believe it's a pressure I put on myself because you know how it is. You're creating content and I don't know, I feel like I was being authentic, but I was also operating like I wanted to be relevant. And it seems like in this community, relevance is shown by it's like you have to have these goals or something that you're coming in and reporting on, or it's like the people struggling and those kind of things seem to be what people gravitate towards. And I wasn't really necessarily doing a whole lot of struggling. Like I had some here and there, but I don't know, just feeling like I wasn't enough. And then because I had gotten so small, I felt like I had to do even more to like, I don't know. So silly. Like prove that I was like worthy of being here. And those comments, comments people make about people being small, I thought, well, if I build more muscle, you know, then that'll be better. And it's like I had to sit and think, what is it that I want? Is this something I want to do? Do I want to be in the gym 5 days a week? And it when I realized and actually took the time to process it, which different things happening in my life, personal things that forced me to slow down, helped me like come to this point where I'd ask myself, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I realized it was, in a sense, performative. When I started off, it is exactly what I wanted, but that changed over time. And kept trying to force something that was no longer, I was trying to stay in a lane that I didn't need to be in anymore. So now I feel like I'm doing the things that work for me and I don't feel as stressed out about it.
Well, I love that you say that because I think if you don't create content, it's different. It's very different to understand. And I do think, when we start on this GLP-1 journey, when you look around and see like people are reporting, because that's what people want to see, right? They want to see what did you lose every week? What's your weight loss every week? They want to see you take the injection with the expectation that at the end of that week, you're going to report back something happened. And when you get to maintenance and now you're not trying to lose, I can see where you would say to yourself, okay, now what what should I focus on? What do the people want to see? And for you, I think that became exercise in your mindset. And you were pumping out those mindset videos, and you can see how, and I feel this too for me, talking about weight loss and how to lose weight. Even though, and everybody will tell you that, the pastor will tell you this, the person that's a billionaire will tell you this, because I've watched interviews and heard them talk about it. At some point, you get to the point where now you need support. Like now you need, like you're talking about mindset, but you might need your own mindset shift. And where do you get that from? And I think that sometimes it can kind of drain you, but I can see where you would think to yourself, like, well, where do I go from here? And what do people want to see? And people said, and I know this to be true, people said they wanted to see that mind shift, but a lot of people weren't necessarily watching. And what did they click on? When you were having your struggles. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
so people love you. It's just so ironic. People love you for, getting to maintenance and being that role model and being that person that was consistent. But as soon as you fall off, you get a ton of clicks about that. So I do see where that is, pressure. And so how do you get to that point where you say, I'm done with that? Like, was there a turning point? Let's even talk about the mindset videos, because I know people who are watching you probably want to know that. What stopped you from doing that? Like, what really was the turning point for you?
Honestly, I feel like I was always honest about my struggles, right? Previous struggles with consistency. And I felt like maybe people weren't trying to do it, but I felt like they were just minimizing my journey because it looked easy. And it wasn't always easy, right? It was easier than in the past, but what was my option? To not do anything and then go back to the way things were before? And I'm just not interested in being performative. And when I notice that those are the videos that perform better, I'm not going to stay in a constant state of struggle. And I'm not going to go above and beyond doing things because I think it's what people want to see. When if you, and I try to stay away from analytics, but when you look at the analytics, it's just not. And so finding a balance, I have to find a balance, and I haven't figured out how that's going to be yet. I had to move away from talking about weight because I've been transparent about my daughter that's struggling with an eating disorder, and she watches my videos. So she's seeing all this stuff that I was doing, and I believe the word is cognizant. I wasn't being mindful of that. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was that was part of the struggle. That was part of the struggle. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it. No amount of views is worth doing these things that are really not, because there's a such thing as doing too much, and that's not healthy for anybody either. And she was watching. So that's why I decided I just can't do that anymore. And it's not being true to myself, because in sharing your journey, that should be something that's easy to do. And if I've got to be like trying to come up with stuff to talk about, then I'm not doing it right. So, and
Yeah.
it frustrated me when you see, because you and I had this conversation and you were like, is this what I feel like you asked me if this is what I wanted to be doing and that I could just be myself, because I feel like you saw something that I didn't see in that moment. And I was annoyed with you. Remember we had the little conversation, we were going back and forth, but I appreciated that. And so that's why when I realized, when I processed it, I came back and I told you, you were right. I didn't see it in that moment. Yeah, it was kind of performative. I was doing too much. And so when you're trying to do things with a particular goal or an outcome in mind, like if I'm putting out these videos because I want people to watch it and I want them to absorb it and I want everybody to feel like I do that, and I'm expecting like views, of course I'm going to be disappointed when I don't get the views. But if I put out something because this is genuinely like I'm just sharing my experience, this is what's going on, It doesn't matter if I get 100 views, 1,000 views. I put out something that I can be proud of and that's genuine to me. And so that's how I have to show up. If I can't show up like that, then I don't want to show up at all. Because this is easy. It's easy showing up like this.
And I think there's something to be said for that because I can see, when you get they tell you, if you listen and follow people who can tell you or think they know what makes a good YouTube video and how to do well on YouTube, they'll say when you have a video that takes off, you got to kind of have to go with that. And I think the struggle with that for some of us is that's probably not the video you want to keep making over and over. And maybe that was a one-time
Mm-mm.
thing where you made that video. That wasn't something that makes you happy to do. And I can see how to chase the views and to chase the monetization or whatever comes with it, you would keep making those videos. And at some point, you're not happy making those videos, not you, me, any of us. And you just kind of have to, tell your story. So you're like a blueprint for us that, because when I get into maintenance eventually, it's like, I want to be able to still be happy making videos and not feeling like I'm forced to make certain videos that really don't align with my values or what I want to do or
Right.
where I'm at in that space. And I can see how it's like you try to find the next thing, right, to, do because you've met the goal. So I don't know what that is, but I will say to you, I know this was another thing that, that was a struggle for you. And, we talked a lot about it behind the scenes. And it's that idea of people feeling like they probably can't relate to your journey because in this community, you have so many people that we know. Now it's a lot of Taishas out there that, started at your same size. But those are maybe the people that really show up in the chats and in the live streams. It's people that have a lot of struggles or started with a lot of weight. And I know at some point you felt like people didn't appreciate where you started and you could only be appreciated if you were much bigger. Now, how has that worked out since you were feeling that way? And I think you still might feel that way, but how are you dealing with that?
I can't worry about that. I have to know that there are a lot of people and maybe they just, and I do have a solid group that they're there all the time, right? They're in a lot of different spaces, but there's got to be other people out there who are like me, right? Who weren't three,
Absolutely.
4, 500 pounds, who maybe their highest weight was 200 or whatever, but it doesn't change the fact that they had some medical issues, right? You don't have to be 400 pounds to have medical issues. I had obstructive sleep apnea when I was 160 pounds. And so it's not always just, it's just not about that. And I can't plead to that audience. People will either understand that you still have to do certain things, right? It's still going to require lifestyle changes. It's going to require moving your body, making better choices, whether you had 50 pounds to lose or 250 pounds to lose. So if someone else can't see past that, I can't worry about that. All I can do is share and hope that it helps someone, that they can take away something. And that's it. That's it. I can't continue to worry about that or try to prove that I'm worthy of being in this space. I am worthy of being in this space. And so is someone I don't want to say only, someone who has 20 pounds to lose or whatever it is to get them in a better state of health, they're worthy of being in this space as well. And we've got to move away from this us versus them and, this person needs it more. I'm not taking Mounjaro. I'm not taking anything away from any diabetics. I am on Zepbound. So I don't even feel guilty about that because I see those little remarks all over the internet when people talk about, oh, they're taking medication away from diabetics because of vanity. It's not vanity. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that do that. Maybe they are, but it's not for me to determine that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If a doctor prescribes it and their insurance covers it, that's between them. I want to share information with people who are interested in truly improving their lives and to get off that roller coaster that a lot of us have been on for many years, and some people decades.
Absolutely. And I also think if there's a such thing as preventative healthcare, that's why we have our insurance covers visiting the doctor, right? Before you have an illness so you can prevent it. And I think the GLP-1s are the same thing. It's preventative for some people that, are overweight and headed to obese, pre-diabetic, headed into diabetes. I think what happened is when that medication was scarce, that's when I saw. Now, I mind you, I'm not one of those people I'm not on Reddit and Facebook where, those comments run rapid. So I don't really see that. But, I do know that I did see even in our YouTube community where the medication was scarce, and I would see in some people's live streams and chats and comment section, people would be saying who should get the medicine versus who shouldn't. And I think that scarcity mentality, I think, has kind of played out. Now the discussion is, the fairness of how much we're paying. It has shifted to that. But I have seen some themes going on in the YouTube community, and some of them you addressed so eloquently, I must say, in your videos. And, when you talk about the whole diet culture, I feel like that really annoys you. And before I
It
talk
does.
about that, I want to say, it's a billion people on YouTube. I've always told you this from the beginning of when we started talking and getting to know each other, and your people will find you, and I think they have. And now it's just about attracting those newer people that will find you and appreciate your journey and where you're at. So there's that. But let's talk about this diet culture. So what ticks you off about the diet culture, and should there even be such a thing in this GLP-1 community?
I think that people need to be comfortable with accepting that a lot of us are doing things in a different way. I am trying to work on not, and I don't want to use the word judgmental because it's not judgmental, but something I guess that frustrates me is I get it. We want to vent and we want to come together and give each other ideas. But if you're not changing anything, I don't understand how one can expect for anything to change. And then how is strength training or people keeping track of their calories? Oh no, that's diet culture. But I'm seeing people starving themselves essentially. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And working out is not diet culture. Keeping track of what you're putting in your body, that's not diet culture. Now, the restrictive stuff that people were doing once upon a time, you know, those same people saying that again will go days without eating, and they'll dress it up as water fast. And, that to me is a diet culture mentality. I do understand that some of these things can be done for religious purposes or under the direction of a doctor. There's a health benefit to fasting and doing certain things, but that is not what people are doing. That's not what they're doing. And thinking that you're going to be losing 10 pounds a week, that is unreasonable and it's unrealistic and it's unsustainable. So when you have somebody on this medication doing that stuff, and then the second they come off of this water fast and they start eating, they're going through this mind screw because the scale has gone up. Well, of course, you are essentially starving yourself, and eating all the junk food. I don't expect everybody to do whole food plant-based. I'm not saying that at all. But if all you're consuming is overly processed, ultra processed foods and junk foods, that's not good for you. It's whether you're on this medication or
So,
not,
okay, so
it's
let me
not
say,
good
when you
for
say
you.
that, I think people think you're talking about like chips and cookies and stuff. You're also talking about protein snacks, like the processed
Yeah.
stuff. When I went
Yes.
into a store, one of the big name brand stores here, it was Target. I went into Target, and I'm telling you, they had protein, everything, protein chips, protein cookies, protein Pop-Tarts, protein popcorn, protein this, protein that. And I said, so now, and I see, I think a protein bar has its place because I'm someone who, when I got to that 12.5, which I'm still currently on, and could not eat. That saved me from, probably being worse off on my DEXA scan than I actually was, because I really was just could not eat, and I didn't really understand could not eat until I could not eat. It's like one of those cases where you don't get it until it happens to you. But those shakes and those protein bars came in handy. And then when I was trying to, increase my calories to 2,000, be at the direction of my DEXA scan guy, it was just like impossible, I felt like, to eat that much. So they have a place because, and I say to myself, like, I could, instead of the protein bar, I can eat an egg, or I could eat, what are those little, I don't even really love those sticks, those turkey sticks, because to me, that's even processed. I mean, to me, those are processed. So it's kind of like you have to find, I get the people who are trying to eat and trying to do the calories, get your calories in. I think it has a place. But I think when you're just eating it for, I got to get my 2 snacks in for the day, I just got to get my protein chips in. It's almost like we're replacing the junk food with now protein junk food. Do you think, you see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Do you feel that?
Yeah. I do. I do. And if you're getting, now I don't eat those. I have let me see, maybe once upon a time I tried stuff like that and I never really liked the taste. And then stuff that tasted good, I could eat the whole box. So that kind of defeated the purpose, right? If you are deficient and you're not getting enough protein in, and the other option is eating nothing, then you got to do what you got to do. But we're not talking about that. We're talking
Right.
about people who like to eat junk food, and they're just, because it says protein on it, now magically this is a good food. And it's not. It's not. It's just not. And I don't understand why people get offended by that. I I don't understand why it's hard as a meat eater to get protein in. Do you know what I mean? You have like all these different options. And that's something that's hard. But now if you're not able to eat because you don't have an appetite, I do understand how that can be difficult. And you're actually the one that helped me understand people who said they felt full. I have yet to feel that on this medication. I'm just not hungry or thinking about food all the time. But to actually physically, you told me you actually physically feel full, then yeah, if I felt like that, I would imagine it would be hard to get food in. So then you do what you can, but it just doesn't seem, it seems like a lot of people just are falling into the marketing, right? Oh, this is protein, so this is good for me. And you want to be mindful of your protein sources. That's it. That's it. And if it's a big sugary drink or bars, you got to know that that's not good for you. That's not good for you. Not in high quantities. And everything with moderation. So if you're just heavily relying on these basically candy bars with protein, that's probably not the better option long term.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, honestly, before I got to that 12.5, I was just eating it because, remember I was telling you how I was eating 2 bars a day? And I was like, I need to cut back. And it was just for the sweetness of it all. It wasn't necessarily to get the protein in at first. It was just like, oh, okay, this is sweet. This is helping, obviously. Now, for me, for the meat, I eat chicken, turkey, and fish, and have for 15 to 20 years. So my options are a little limited, and I don't eat every fish in the world either. I like salmon.
You like
I used to
salmon.
like catfish. I think I'm kicking catfish to the curb. And I like red snapper. So I'm pretty limited. I don't eat every type of fish out there. But so for me, it's just, I don't love protein. I don't love eating meat. I just never have been a meat eater. So that's my struggle. Now, other people, I don't know what it is, but like to get that protein in, the count between 80 and 120, I found myself at dinner time. That's why I'm trying to load up. So you're going to see some videos coming out where I'm loading up before noon, because I'm trying to get my protein in early, and that's going to keep me satisfied throughout the day. But I would have to eat a salmon and a half. And I'm telling you, that's a lot of food, especially when you're taking a treatment that's kind of, suppressing your appetite. It sounds like, oh, just eat the 2 pieces of salmon. Well, that's a lot to eat. And for some reason, whole foods are just more difficult than it even would be if I was eating like that third slice of pizza. That for some reason, those processed foods go down easier and better than the whole foods. You know, you can eat the pizza, but the whole foods, you're kind of like, what? Wait. So that salmon, I found myself eating I started off trying to eat two at dinner, and then I cut it down to one and a half because I couldn't eat the whole thing. My daughter would eat the other half, and I was doing okay with that. And I thought, I can't even wait till dinner to, to do this. I got to start get my protein up, like front load myself. So it kind of is a struggle for me. But again, I'm one of those people that I'm not like the biggest protein. I came in here and I'm not the biggest dairy. Like I see people getting the protein in with the cottage cheese. Well, I don't eat that. Milk, I just started introducing milk back into my diet when I started the GLP-1. Yogurt, I don't love yogurt. I don't love any kind of yogurt because in the comments, people are going to start putting all these great flavors of yogurt. Well, I buy it, but I don't love it. I just don't like dairy like that. So I'm a carb girl, which explains why I was so big, right? Because we know, and I wasn't eating the sweet potatoes all the time. You could look at me and tell I'm just not eating the complex carbs. I'm eating the carbs I shouldn't be eating. So this was all like a big shift for me. And like I say, it has taken my mind all this time to kind of get on board, because I've had a lifetime of struggles, not just 10 years and 15 years. I mean, 50, well, I'm 53. So let me give my mom some grace. I'm going to say 43 years. Because I feel like when you're a kid, it's your parent, right? Because they're buying the food. Now, you could be eating when you go to other people's, but for the most part, that parent is providing that foundation. And you can't control what happens when your child gets out into that real world, right? And starts getting food from other sources or looking online or whatever they're doing. But like the years when your kids can only get food from you, you're kind of responsible for what you're putting in front of them and what they're doing. And so that's why I say, my mom, who's never had a weight struggle, so she could have been eating the same thing as me. I put on weight and she did not. So that all plays into it too, like your genetics. And I was just saying to somebody earlier, we start out, can start out. I didn't lose 10 pounds my first month. I know a lot of people who said, like, on my first month on this GLP-1, I lost 10 pounds. Well, I also think it depends on how bad off you were with the inflammation, with the, your insulin resistance, with your A1C, with your blood glucose and the sensitivity with all that. So and I could be a overweight. I could be my size, which I was 300 pounds, but you could have been worse off with some of those things than me at your 183. And I don't think that's people don't realize that it's degrees to this. And just because you're smaller in weight, that doesn't mean you're healthier. And I think we need to get over that too. You might be less mobile, but maybe not, because maybe your joints might hurt even more so than somebody that was 250. So I think that we have to get past that. And I think we're stuck on that, I feel like, as a community. Do you feel that way?
I do. And it's not a competition, right? I feel like there's always, it seems to be a way for people to find a us versus them. Like my highest dose was 5 milligrams. That doesn't mean that I'm better or worse off. And it definitely doesn't determine the severity of the binge eating that I had. That just happens to be the dose that worked for me. But if someone needs to go up, there should be no shame in that. So I kind of feel like there are people who are very proud of not having to go high in dose, when I guess I don't even know why we're on that, because I'm pretty sure diabetics aren't doing that with their insulin, however that gets measured out. I
True.
don't know why there has to constantly be this us versus them, or my story is worse than yours. You know what I mean? My health was bad. I don't feel like I should have to say that in every video. I have talked about almost dying in 2020 because of some procedures that I had done because I was in such poor health. Eating a whole food plant-based diet is not because I think I'm superior. I got to make sure I'm saying the right thing. I have diverticulosis. I have had things removed from my is it intestines or colon? So this is the best diet for my body. Eating whole foods, high fiber, that is necessary for me. maybe everybody doesn't have that. I don't know if people are aware, but colon cancer has been on the rise. And a lot of it is because a lot of us don't get enough fiber. So if you can get it from whole food sources, that's ideal. If not, then you supplement, but it's still important. So instead of me having to worry about supplements, I found foods that I enjoy eating, and that's how I'm keeping everything going. And so I think it's either 2 or 3 years, I have to go and get this colonoscopy to make sure everything is okay. But there are a lot of things that I don't talk about on a regular basis, or I don't even really think to talk about. I was in poor health, you know. I was using my inhaler constantly. I couldn't do anything with my family. I was always, tired and ready to go home. I just wanted to lay in my bed. I was in pain all the time. So no, it didn't take me getting to 300 pounds for that to happen. But for me, it was horrible. It was horrible. I was miserable and I was depressed. And it was just this cycle. And I just kept going deeper and deeper into it. So almost dying, I made some lifestyle changes. And guess what? I ended up going back to the same lifestyle. I just wasn't eating, animal products, but I was still eating all the junk food that you can imagine that was vegan. Again, I say it a lot. Oreos are vegan. That's not healthy food. And the quantities I was eating, that's the thing. It wasn't just the Oreos themselves. I could sit there and eat a whole family pack watching a show. Like, that's not good
You
for
said a
any of us.
family pet. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I was a meat eater, which I'm sure that was keeping things, I mean, my colon was impacted probably because of the quantities of food. I could eat 2 steaks. Like,
Jeez
it was
Louise.
excess. It was excess. Exactly. And I was doing that again on a regular basis, going out to bars, eating bar food, drinking alcohol, all the things that are just not good for your body. So I've been there and I've done that, and I just didn't want to do that anymore. I couldn't
Well,
afford to if I wanted to be alive, right? My dad died at 44, so
yeah,
I've
and
outlived him.
I think that you don't don't I don't want you to feel like, and you may or may not, but from here on out, I don't want you to feel like you got to prove that and say that, play that, or go again. Because I remember I used to say, well, maybe remind people of where you came from. And now I feel like the people that are going to find you and be endeared to your channel are just probably people who started with you from the beginning. I'm one of those people that was kind of early on, or people who find you and see themselves in you. That's the thing. People have to see themselves in you, and it doesn't have to be all of you. It could just be a part of your journey. Saw you get there. If I just started out, I might not be attracted to your channel right this moment. But I saw you start out, and I saw you get to where you are, and I'm invested. I want to know what's going on, how you doing, what's going on with you. And so I think you have those people that are like the DDs, and then you have the new people coming in, and and they're going to see you. And somebody who's really overweight may not see themselves in your story, but that's okay. And you don't have to keep saying that. And if people really want to know what's going on with you, they can watch your previous videos. And I think it's good to remind people, I started here because it's a part of your story. I started here, and this is where I'm at. And I think that that's okay. I think that's okay for you to do that. But I would just let that go. Because if somebody has enough nerve to come in your comments and say, like, well, you never had a weight problem, or you weren't that big, let them think that. Because if you don't want to convince that person, because it takes a certain mindset to even say that and put it in the writing, right? So I would just
Yeah.
let that person go. You're not probably going to win that person over, nor do you probably even want to. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no,
It is what it is. And I say, just love yourself, embrace yourself, and talk about embracing yourself. Let's talk about the hair, the nails, the lipstick. What is up, Taisha? What is up with that? I love it.
just try to, I don't know. I'm at that point where I just feel like with everything else going on, I don't know. It just kind of makes me feel good, you know. I'm not a foundation girl, but you know, my daughter did my little eyes for me today. I've been trying to fill in my brows, and I just throw on some lip gloss, and I feel good, you know. But I also feel okay without that. But it's nice doing that, getting my nails done. It's something I used to do, you know. There were different periods of time where I did that, and I remember like that's a good thing, you know. So
I like
embracing
that.
more of
I like
those
that it's
things.
making you, yeah. And I don't feel somebody said Taisha's a glamour girl. I don't feel like I told you, I don't feel like you're a glamour girl. I feel like you're still that, you remind me of that Soho, like Bohemian. Isn't it a song called Bohemian Rhapsody? Yeah, you probably sang that in karaoke. I don't know. I feel like you're still like that, but you just got a little glam to yourself here and there, or whatever, or forever, whoever, whatever makes you feel good. But I think that is the key: is feeling good about yourself and being unapologetic for it. So whatever you do is what you do. You know, it's like, this is me, and this is what I'm doing now. This is the season I'm in, and I love that. And as long as you're feeling good about yourself. Now, I will say, at one point, you had really dropped down in those pounds, and then you kind of, gained some of it back. So when you got down to those pounds where you were probably at your lowest, now you're at 130, but you said lower than 130. So, Taisha, did you ever say to yourself when you got down to your lowest weight that I went too far, or this is not where I want to be, or what were you thinking, and what made you be okay with putting on some of it back? Because I can tell some people in maintenance are going through that.
It was actually watching a video back, and I was like, "Oh, I look I look really small." It's weird because you know we're looking at a camera and we're recording ourselves, and even editing, I didn't notice it, but it's like I went back and I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to be this small." And then like when the scale was moving down to 125, I wasn't trying to get smaller. I wasn't eating less calories. I didn't feel like I was moving even more. But that's why I say the power of walking. People don't underestimate the power of walking. Because when I was walking consistently, just 30 minutes, more weight started to come off. So that's just not what I wanted for me. So that's
Is
when
that
I
why you
like kind
scaled
of
back
dialed
the
it back.
exercise? Okay.
That's why I dialed back a little bit. But then when everything started happening in my life with, you know, just different family things, I wasn't able to, or I can't say I wasn't able to. I did not have the energy to put into working out to that degree. And then I started being okay with it. I was just like, okay, all right. I don't have to keep doing this. It's okay to dial back. Because the fear for me was, what are people going to think? I know that's silly, but or oh, you were doing so well and now oh my gosh, you're backtracking. And I wasn't backtracking. I just didn't need to keep pushing that hard because who knows, I would have kept getting smaller and smaller. And at 5'7", I just, you know, again, I spent so many years small that just wasn't appealing to me. You know,
Yeah,
it
and
wasn't
then
appealing to me.
you're going for health. You're not going for weight loss, right? You want
Absolutely.
to be healthy, and if you could be
I didn't think
healthy
I
at,
looked I didn't think I looked healthy though. Like looking back at some of those things, I didn't feel like I looked healthy. So yeah, I felt great. And I know we shouldn't be caught up in looks, but you know, we've all seen people where you see their before and their after, you're just like, whoa, that's really small. Now, if that's what they want, by all means, I felt like I looked a little sick. And so
now, was it the
I
guy in the comments that made that comment to you that had you think about that, or did you think
no.
that before that or after that on your own?
No, and he made it on a video. I think it was one of my shorts that I looked that he thought I looked better before. Now he wasn't rude about it, right? But I was just like, it doesn't matter how
Okay.
I looked before. I wasn't healthy. So that was easy for me. I didn't even get the comments. Like when I got down really small, no one ever made comments. Girl, you need to eat, you know, thankfully. I'm glad they didn't because that probably would have irritated me. But I was able to see that myself. So
Okay.
it
Okay. All
wasn't
right.
those comments. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think that's, it comes when you can realize it yourself because it comes from where you want to be. It wasn't somebody who made you think about it. I think it's even better, right? So, but so what advice would you give? Because, well, before we get to the advice, we got to talk about this video you did a couple videos ago where you just said everything that is on your nerves basically about this GLP-1 community. So what made you make that video, and what are some of the things that still resonate with you that you want to kind of explain even more or maybe talk about? And one of the things that got me is in that video, I had to laugh out loud, honey. And I don't really laugh out loud. I might do a chuckle to myself, but when I laugh out loud, it's just tickles me. When you said, and people are saying that they're, what am I eating as a vegan? How am I getting my protein in? Half of y'all aren't getting your protein in, and y'all are eating meat. And I
There
said,
were
me, that would be me, even though I never, I know, and I've even talked to you about it. I know you could get protein in when you're a vegan for sure. I mean, I was telling Taisha this book where, these athletes, that movie where the athletes were, they spotlight, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the producer of the movie, and they spotlighted these athletes and firefighters and all these people that were doing amazing things with their body, and they don't eat meat and they're getting their protein from plant sources. So yeah, so that was so funny to me because I thought, oh ma'am, I gotta say that even though I'm not the person criticizing the vegan diet. But tell us about
yeah,
that video. What made you make it, and what do you want to say about it?
some of it was a bit of projection, but I'm seeing a lot of unhealthy behaviors in the community, and it seems like other people are seeing it and they're doing it too. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and experiencing what I'm going through with my daughter with being diagnosed with anorexia, which was actually the end of the school year last year. So this is how long we've been kind of battling this, and seeing some of the things in her. I'm seeing people in our community do that. And it's frustrating because it's not safe, and it seems like it's celebrated. When someone's not eating enough calories and people are celebrating them for losing a bunch of weight, when, you know, people are essentially starving themselves and they're happy because the scale is going down, like it like touches a nerve, and it's personal. It's personal because I'm watching what she's struggling with. And then everyone being not everyone, a lot of people being anti-therapy or feeling like offended, when it is very clear that a lot of people have disordered eating. And I think that it's not talked about enough because people are easily offended. But it's okay. I I felt like it was important for me to talk about it, and if people were upset, I was okay with that, because I feel like watching this, and it's so close to home, I can't just sit back and watch people do that. I can't do that in good conscience and feel like I have this platform and I should be trying to help people. And sometimes it's saying things that we may not want to hear. And I tried to be delicate with it. Like, I maybe was a little more not as zen as I normally am, but I don't feel like this is a topic that is meant to be zen. I feel like this is important, you know? And there's a such thing as doing this in an unhealthy way, and I feel like a lot of people are doing this in an unhealthy way, and they have unhealthy, unrealistic expectations. So I do believe like there's a lot of disordered eating. It's a lot of disordered eating. Um, and I just want people to be okay. And I just don't think they are. I don't think they are.
I
So
appreciate you bringing that to our attention. And we need the reminders because I know in our community, we have great intentions, right? I see the challenges and the 75 hard and the 75 soft and, the different challenges we have going on. And I think when you could get somebody doing things healthily, right, in a a challenge like that, it's great. I think you kind of draw the line when like you're doing the next thing just to be doing the next thing, because is that really a lifestyle for the rest of your life? Are you going to be doing that? I think the 75 soft or hard challenge, I think that's good in a way because it incorporates reading and some other things. It's not just, what you eat and diet. And some of them aren't what you eat at all. It's exercise. And so I get that. But I think, I don't know, to me, a lifestyle is something you're going to be able to maintain and do long term. It's not just, something you're doing now until you get to a goal. And so I guess I'm seeing that. And I feel like it's times where I wanted to get caught up in that. And I said, why am I doing a challenge? This is not something I want to do. I'm going to be doing, and to push myself once or twice. But then when they start getting back to back to back, then that's when I have to bow out, because I know that that's not something I'm going to be doing. You know what I'm saying? I think it's great if you can keep up and do it. But for me, that's just not something I'm going to continue to do. But I think it's great to have those little boosts of, challenges and challenging yourself here and there. But I always wonder, like, what is your diet versus what is being a lifestyle change? And so I guess I feel like that struggle is out there. So I think it's nice to get a reminder so we don't get fixated on those things.
And if you're doing the challenge, and that's the thing too, if you're doing a challenge because it's just something you wanted to be able to do, and it's like, okay, for example, the plank challenge, right? We worked up to, I believe it was 2 minutes. I don't look at that as super difficult. And what I wanted people to do is modify it for yourself. If you can't do 30 seconds, then do 5 seconds. You know, if you got to do 5 seconds the next day, like that's okay. It wasn't really about the 2 minutes. I had to make it something that would be a challenge for me, and I was sharing it, right?
Right.
But going out, if you've done nothing and then you jump into doing 50 squats a day, if you talk to anyone who is into weightlifting or strength training, you shouldn't be doing any muscle group like that every single day, especially if you're just coming off the couch. Now, if you're doing something because it's like, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds, or if you think that, oh, I'm going to do planks for 30 days and I'm going to have washboard abs, that first of all, that's not going to happen. That's not how you do that. You know, they say abs are made in the kitchen. They're made in the kitchen, and you can do things to build them up and a stronger core. But the reasons people are doing things too, they're trying to do all these different challenges because they think the scale is going to move faster. I haven't heard anyone say, oh, I just want to get stronger. You're not building a butt. I'm just going to let you know, I'm team no booty over here, but I feel like I can say this. You're not going to build a butt doing squats every day for 30 days. People need to recognize that genetically, some people just have that, right? You and I could do stuff. I'm not going, there's just no amount of strength training that I can do that's going to give me a behind like you have. Right. So our expectations, if you're trying to build your quads, if you want to get stronger, that's different. So I don't know. Some of the stuff, it's like the blind leading the blind. And we got to just figure out what we're doing and why we're doing it. And a lot of people need to consult with their doctors and make sure you're doing something, that is appropriate for you at the current state that you're in right now, because you can hurt yourself. And that's going to set you back even farther.
Yeah. So true. So true. So that's why Downsizing Diva I don't jump on the ones that I can't do. I said, and I tried to make that video. I said, let me show Taisha that I mean business. I'm about to do this plank. Girl, you can look down there, and it was my daughter.
That was adorable
I
too.
tried to hold that plank. I said, geez, Louise, I can't even do a good 20 seconds. So you're right. You got to build up to it. And it was a time where I could do a 20-second, a 30-second, a minute plank when I was going to the gym and working out and had my little trainer. Those days are over. I got to build back up to that. I said, this is tough. But I also knew that this was your goal to 2 minutes, and I had to modify it how I wanted to do it. Right. And so, I think that, people have to just kind of know that, you don't necessarily have to keep up with that. So I thought you did a nice job of saying, like, this is my goal. This is what I'm trying to reach to. You could join me, but you did say, especially on your live streams, you were talking about modifying it. So I love that. All right.
And don't
So
be afraid
Taisha,
to modify, right? Like, I think
yeah.
people think they're supposed to just out the gate be able to do something, and it just takes time, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that
my
stood out.
word of the year is consistency. And you have been like, if it has to be like a poster child, you're one of those people that would be on there when you look it up, because you definitely have been consistent. And just seeing you put your, walking on there on Instagram, and your food, and just keeping track of things. And I think you get to a point where all that is kind of overwhelming to some people. And even you got to a point where you were like, I don't need to do all of this. And I think that was good for people to see, right? That, okay, it's okay to scale it back. So I love that you did that. So what would you say to someone who was starting Zepbound, and, just a newbie out in these Zepbound and GLP-1 streets out here? And what would you say to someone who was looking for advice? Like, what advice would you give to them?
So if I were just talking to someone, I would say, what are your goals? Like, did you get on this medication because it was a health thing? Because it's different for all of us. If you were someone that struggled with binge eating, that would be a different conversation than someone who hasn't struggled with that. I would say pay attention to how you feel. Make sure you're getting enough. If you're able to, meet with a dietitian to find out what types of things that you should be eating, the amounts, that would be worth it. Um, if you've had disordered eating for a long time, I would consider some therapy, maybe just a couple of visits, just to kind of get to the root cause, because there are a lot of us that also had emotional eating, and tell you to just take it one day at a time. Don't get too caught up on what everybody else is doing. Don't be overly focused on the scale. Even if your goal is weight loss, don't heavily focus on the scale, because things can be happening and you'll notice your clothes are fitting differently. You're starting to feel different. Maybe you can get up, go to standing without bracing yourself. Maybe you can get in and out of your car without the amount of discomfort you had before. Like, focus on those things. Focus on your labs improving. Everything, other things other than the scale. So that is my advice. Make lifestyle changes. Don't jump into being extreme. You're not going to be as hungry as you were before, and that's okay, but you have to eat. It's so important. It's important. Nutrition is important. And when you can incorporate movement, do that. Um, Ideally, if you could do that in the beginning, that's great. But if you can't, focus on the nutrition first. And then when you get to a point where you feel like you can add a little bit of movement in, just do it slowly. There's no rush. There's no rush. That is my advice.
I think
Do
that's
things when
excellent
you can.
advice. Do things when you can. So let me ask you just some quick questions, and then we'll play a game. We'll talk about your YouTube channel, where you go from here, and then we are done with the interview. So I want you
Okay.
to tell me, what's one thing you wish someone had told you about maintenance?
You're not going to magically love your body when you get to that magic number. That magic number. You're not. And I really did believe that when I got down to my goal weight, I was just gonna everything was gonna be great. And it just wasn't. It was just another day. I reached a weight. Those feelings were still there. So you got to do some inner work.
Oh,
You have to
thank
do
you for
some inner
sharing
work.
that. Thank you. What's the biggest non-skill victory that you have had? If you had to pinpoint it down to one.
I feel physically better than I did in my 30s. My health, my health. Um, it's been some hard years. I put put some hard. hard years on my body. And I feel good. I'm sleeping well. I don't know if sleep apnea just improves or if it's something where it can come back, but I'm waking up and I feel rested. Now, we're not talking about the times where, I was having trouble sleep and stress, but just in general, I
Sure. Yeah.
feel I feel good. I feel like I'm living, not just existing.
Now, did you ever use a CPAP machine for your sleep
I did.
apnea? Are you
I
currently
did.
using that?
I was
Oh,
not
wow.
compliant. So it clearly wasn't severe. Some people who have to use it. I know there's levels to sleep apnea. I wasn't that top level. So no, I felt like restricted. I never did get a mask where I was like, yes, this is it. Now in the hospital, what they had me hooked up to, I slept like a baby. But yeah, but I don't need it now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to hear. So, what's a habit that you'll never give up that you have developed? And you say to yourself, I'm never not doing this.
I'm always going to be mindful of the things I'm putting in my body. And I'm always going to incorporate some sort of movement, always.
Excellent.
So,
Very good. All right, so let's play this game, and I want you see, you're reflective. Don't think too much. So get your
okay, okay.
mindset right, where you're gonna release those thoughts. But if you really feel compelled to explain something, go right ahead and explain it. But you don't
All
have
right.
to. All right,
Okay.
ready?
All right. I'm going to try. I got this.
All right. GLP-1s,
Life changing,
exercise,
necessary,
compounds,
no comment,
strength training,
important,
important, menopause,
hormone replacement therapy,
maintenance,
lifestyle,
family.
super important, crucial,
Crucial. Yeah, I agree. Vegan, being a vegan,
lifestyle,
lifestyle. And finally, YouTube.
video diary.
Oh, yes, 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 it is. And I don't know about you, but I look back and see myself on some of my previous videos, the technicality of it all. I see that and I think like, wow, I've come far, even though I feel like I could do so much better, as well. And then I look at my, just my face and my body, and I'm like, wow, I can see a difference. So it's a nice thing to have. I, don't have any regrets about telling my story on YouTube. Have you had any regrets or second thoughts?
Um, a little bit, right? When I first started making videos, I made them intentionally short because I know people have short attention spans. So I really just got to the point, right? And I wish I would have gone a little bit deeper because then I would have that to reflect on, like talking more about how I was physically feeling. I feel like uh, I made them short in hopes that people would watch them through, but I wish I would have just shared a lot more than I did.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, tell us, so to talk about YouTube, you have shifted some things. Tell us about your mindset videos that we love. People love those, but you said people weren't really watching it. I was just baffled when you said people aren't even watching the 2-minute video the whole way through. It's just, I mean, geez Louise. And then tell us about what you were thinking when you decided not to go live every Monday. Now you're still live, but you're going live once a month, the first Monday of the month. Tell us about that. Tell us about your restructuring of your
Okay.
channel and what you're doing out here.
So the daily dose of mindset videos, I loved doing those, but I felt like I started running out of things to talk about, and I was really just saying the same things over and over again. And they weren't really performing well, and it kind of affected my channel. So I stopped doing those. And then I tried to pivot into where I was really focused on mindset, and those videos were not performing well. And so again, I made the mistake of looking at the analytics. And so then I decided, like, well, let me just go back to talking about my journey. But then I was like, you know what? I don't want to talk about weight loss. And when I share things about my struggles, if you just, look at my channel, you'll see that weight loss, like there was one video that did particularly well, and it was like 183 to whatever the weight was. That video did, that's one of my best performing ones. And the struggle videos. And I knew that that is not what I wanted to come up here and do. I don't want to, I'm not constantly feeling like I'm struggling. So I didn't want to be inauthentic. So then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I just want to come up here and share what I'm going through and what maintenance looks like in real time. And I feel better. I don't feel like I am struggling to come up with a topic or find something to talk about, or, the whole thing with titles and thumbnails. And I'm just, I guess, not interested in doing any of those things. So I don't get a crap ton of views. But the way my daughter said it to me, she was like, imagine you were in a room talking to 100 people. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I don't need thousands and thousands of views. Now, who wouldn't want that? But if I'm going to base everything I'm doing off of how many views I get, well, I'd have been ran off of YouTube a while ago. So, as far as the lives, I feel like there are a lot of people in this community, and they're in a lot of different spaces, and everybody's going live all the time. And with the things going on, trying to figure out, because I always like there to be a purpose. I tried doing the winging it and talking. I don't like that. I don't like coming on alive and not having a purpose and just rambling on. Now, some people are really good at that. I'm not good at that. So I figure I'll show up once a month, and then I'll have something to talk about, and that's really the reason for that change. Now it's different because, when you're live streaming, you have other opportunities, but I can't focus on that. And again, there are so many people that are constantly live. It's like the wild, wild west out here. So I just felt like I want to do a little less when it comes to that, and once a month. Give people a chance to potentially miss me. And, I could get on next Monday and the first Monday of February, and there could be 20 people there, and that's okay. I'm the same whether there's 2 people or 50 people, So that is that's really all it is. There are a lot of personal things going on. So it's still like being able to show up and balance a lot of that stuff. And that's been hard. The stuff that I've been going through with my daughter has been really hard. But coming on here is like, it is something that makes me happy.
Well, I love that. I think as long as it makes you happy, and I think, people have to realize, and most do, that, there's a life outside of YouTube. Some of us have, large families. Some of us have jobs, full-time jobs outside of this. Some of us have, other responsibilities other than just YouTube. And this could be all consuming. You're somebody like me, like I take pride in like my video and the editing of it. And I'm not the best editor. I don't have the best editing. So to get it where it's at, I'm like doing that, trying to make, nice thumbnails. And, I'm somebody who could get stuck on a thumbnail and a little concept for an hour. And I'm like still trying to like adjust the text and, do the thing. I wish I could just pay somebody. I can't even afford to do that. Pay somebody to do it and do it all. And I could just talk in the video. But, and then I look at your videos and I'm like, oh man, her editing is just on point. Everything is so smooth. And then I look at people who, and not necessarily in our genre, because remember, we're watching other things too, where, remember the whole, I won't say the person's name, but it was this push to just be real and to not have thumbnails, to not have scripts, to not have an idea of what you were going to say, just to get on there and talk. And that can never be me. And I think that's it's real, like you say, but I just don't, I guess it's a teacher in me. I like to be prepared with something because I feel like the one thing you can't get back is your time. And I feel like people's time is valuable. And I feel like when you show up prepared, that shows that you valued that person's time before you even get started, because they know you prepared for whatever you have. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be great, but that just means you put effort, energy, and thought into it. But I think however you do it is how you do it. I just think you have to find what makes it comfortable for you. And those are the spaces I like to be in. So I love your videos. I love that you put energy, effort into it. And I appreciate that. I think you've stepped up the level of what a video should look like, or could look like, not should, I guess could look like. So I love that. So you're not leaving. That's the good news out of all this. You're still around. You're
No,
still creating these
no.
videos.
I, you know, and I've pretty, I don't, I have, it depends on the source. I feel like I have pretty thick skin for the most part, but I think I care too much. And you have had to tell me several times, you have heard me in tears, and I can't let this affect me like that. So as long as I am showing up as myself, like you said, my people will find me. And, if I'm not someone's cup of tea, it's okay because there's lots of other people out there. And I think I'm truly okay with that. It's one thing to say, and I tell people about comparison, and I said I don't have it in the weight loss space. I've mentioned it, but I have it in other areas of my life. And there is no value because all you do is you come away feeling inadequate. And I don't want to feel like that. So I just have to focus on what I'm doing. And am I putting out things that, I'm going to be proud of? And again, it's not like I don't have an editor or people doing my titles and thumbnails clearly, but I'm still proud of what I'm putting out. And I don't feel like, you know, I know my daughters are watching that. My mom sees my stuff sometimes. My husband watches every single video. He's on every live stream. So, I want to have things that I can be proud of. And that's what I feel like I'm doing.
Well, I would say you're a class act, and I love a good class act. I love that. This has been great. So is there anything else you want to say or talk about, address?
Um,
Hmm.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be here. Um, if anyone is concerned, you can feel free to message me. If there's some kind of thing you're interested in, maybe it's a type of video that I've done and you're interested in that, message me. If it's something that I feel like aligns with where I am now, I'll consider it. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm just showing up differently, and I've got to protect my mental health, and I've got to stay true to myself. And when I felt like I was deviating, I feel like I'm aligned now, and this is kind of where I want to be. So,
All right. Well, that sounds good. That sounds good. Thank you so much for coming, Taisha. Of course, I always have a great time talking and chatting with you. And we'll be collabing in the future. We were planning a collab, and then I kind of put a hold to it. And then her life got busy, turned upside down. My life got busy, and now it's kind of turned upside down. And now I feel like I'm getting back to normal. So eventually here, you're going to be seeing a little bit more of Taisha and I trying to venture out and do some things together, back to where, we started. So it's, just stay tuned, stay tuned. So Taisha, I will
okay.
not say bye to you. I will say see you in the next video. And it's
Okay.
been a pleasure, my friend. I can truly say if I don't do YouTube, another day, we're still going to be friends. And I love
Oh,
that.
for sure. For sure.
All right. Well, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Some of it was a bit of projection, but a lot of it had to do with what.
Wait. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry. Okay, now I'm ready. Okay, well, I was trying to get my hair together.
oh,
Okay,
yeah. Okay, let me sit up.
you
All
look
right.
fine. Okay,
Some of
okay.
it was a bit of. Okay. All right.
I got my Oprah serious face on.
You do, she said, and you leaned in too.
Yeah.